Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Ethan of Pixel Adventure Commentaries here to announce a brief disclaimer before starting our regularly scheduled programming. In today's episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we take a brief moment to discuss a hot topic political issue that the Disney Plus show highlighted. For those who watched, you know what scene I'm talking about. We recognize these issues are not what our audience is here for, so if you don't want to assault your eardrums with politics today, watch closely to the video for a timestamp that will allow you to skip the discussion and head right back into the fun stuff of the podcast. With that said, please enjoy our regularly scheduled programming, and thank you for understanding. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I am Ethan.
And I am Bryan.
And welcome to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier Episode 5 podcast. Before we begin, we'd like you to ask to subscribe to our channel so you can keep up to date with all of our Falcon and the Winter Soldier review and synopsis podcasts. And make sure you're also watching the Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney Plus. If you haven't by this point already, it's episode 5 and there's only one episode left. So what are you doing? Go watch it, streaming exclusively on Disney Plus. And then come back to our channel so you can listen to our podcast, because we're going to be talking about spoiler-heavy content within these podcasts. And
yes.
I believe that is all the disclaimers, like the premises of the video, that I need to set before we begin. So,
I believe.
Yeah, anything? Did I miss anything, Bryan?
I don't think so. I mean, you got spoilers, watch the show, subscribe. I think that covers it.
Yeah, and it's episode 5, gang. Go fucking watch it.
One episode left.
So, now, if you remember where we left off from last time, if you've been listening to our podcast and also watching the TV show streaming exclusively on Disney Plus, we left off at a very dour moment within the series, where John Walker, U.S. agent, but also known as like Captain America within the context of the universe, just bloodily murdered somebody in the streets. Nobody knows who it is, but we audience members know who it is, but the audience around them within context of the universe don't. So, and that's pretty scary imagery. So, basing off of that, where we left off last time, where do we begin, Bryan?
We begin fairly soon-ish after the events that ended the last episode. It's not directly after. I would say probably at least an hour or two afterwards. But we begin with, obviously this is after the previously on, because all that does is just set up the plot points and the key moments that the episode will do, as you already know. But we begin with John Walker running in like this abandoned industrial district, where he enters a worn down warehouse, and as he's running towards this warehouse and getting into it, he's having flashbacks of the ending of the last episode, and seeing Lamar die. Obviously, he's going through stuff right now.
He's very mournful. Yeah, at first I thought the scene was going for like a portrayal of John regretting what he had did. Is like how he murdered. He literally did murder someone. He didn't just like kill a goon or something. This was legitimate murder. Like I thought it was they were setting up as like he regretted what he did, but no, they didn't.
No,
they set it up as like a mourning scene for Lamar Hoskins. We kind of forgot his name for the past couple of episodes, but his name's Lamar.
Battlestar.
We've just been calling him Battlestar. We kind of forgot his name. But yeah, Lamar Hoskins. He's truly feeling deep mourning for his best friend, basically, because they have known each other for like ages and ages and ages. They had the deepest bonding together, kind of like how Steve and Bucky did back in the 40s.
Yep. And another thing is the guy that he killed keeps saying it wasn't me before he dies. And as we know, that is true.
Yeah, that is true.
The guy who John Walker killed wasn't the guy who killed Lamar. Carly was the one who killed Lamar, but the guy who he killed was like the first guy he saw, so he was like dead set on killing him specifically. Mm-hmm. Because again, he wasn't in the right place. He wasn't really thinking. But even though he wasn't really thinking, he still doesn't really regret his decision either.
Right.
But yeah, no. So he gets into this warehouse, and inside the warehouse, he's still like, kind of in a daze, not a daze, but like in a phase of like, what the hell? Yeah,
and then he crouches down and does this very like comic book-esque pose for the camera, basically.
Yes. Where he puts the shield in front of him and he gets down on his knees and he like he bends his head down like on against the top edge of the shield. And then as he does this, two familiar faces show up, Sam and Bucky. Wow, who would have thought the Falcon and the Winter Soldier would be in this episode? But yeah, no, they show up, and first thing they really say is, "Give me the shield." Basically, yeah. No. So the whole reason why Sam and Bucky followed him and came here is because they want the shield back. They understand that he is obviously feeling the loss of Lamar, and that what he did was because he was feeling the loss, because he wasn't in the right mindset. Yeah, so they just want the shield back, and John doesn't want to give it up because John is a stubborn bastard, and just literally before the fight starts, he's just like, "I am Captain America."
Right, which is very keen and distinct. Because remember how back in episode 2, he clearly stated that he didn't want to become like the Steve Rogers Captain America. He just wanted to become the Captain America, the best that he could be, right? But now this subtle change from then to now, where he says, "I am Captain America," he has basically got rid of that initial philosophy behind where he got rid of that initial stance of where he wanted to believe, and now he's here in this very decadent moment.
I'm just gonna say this right now. I love villain character arcs just as much as hero character arcs. So the line "I am Captain America" said by John Walker, he says that line repeatedly throughout this episode.
Yes.
And I believe that was probably on purpose, because if we look back at like older Captain America movies, like Winter Soldier, for example, anytime Steve Rogers would introduce himself to somebody, he would always say, "I am Steve Rogers." He would never say, "I am Captain America." Like when he first met Sam. When he first met Sam, he said, he was like, "What's your name?" "Sam Wilson." "Steve Rogers." In the fight of Wakanda in Infinity War, when Groot came there, obviously he didn't know that "I am Groot" stood for something else. But when Groot said "I am Groot," he said "I am Steve Rogers." He didn't say "I am Captain America." So I believe that this was a distinct choice to separate John Walker from Steve.
Oh yeah, that's a profound analysis right there. Really so.
Yes, no, I have a lot of those to do in this episode. There is a lot to unpack in this episode.
Yeah, and it's like kind of like going into right now is like this is like kind of like the only fight scene in the episode, because this episode decided to take the route of like taking a break from the whole like big giant dramatic climactic fiasco, I guess. I'm not really sure how to describe it. Again, like the series is like an extended cut of a movie chopped up into 6 parts, and so part 5 is basically just like a falling action of a midpoint climax throughout the story is what we're getting through this episode. And right here is just like the ending of the previous episode's climax, and then it just kind of settles down and drops back to earth for a while until it gives us to the cliffhanger at the very end of the episode.
Mm-hmm. This would normally be the part of the movie where like everything slows down before that big final fight where everyone like regroups.
Right.
But yeah, no, so as you mentioned, we get a big Sam Wilson, Bucky Barnes, and John Walker fight scene with Sam and Bucky trying to get the shield from John. And it's honestly a really well choreographed fight.
And you know, I kind of laughed during it too, because every time that John would raise up his shield to go at their faces again, like he did to the other mook, I was just like, again, and then and then something happens to him, and it was like, again, no,
yeah,
it was funny. But yeah, a lot of things happen. Sam's wings get broken because, remember, John's a super soldier now. And at one point during the fight, they actually break John's left arm.
Yeah.
Something I was not expecting, but they don't actually show like the physical breaking of the arm. They just like have a camera shot, like a side view of John's face, and like a legitimate scream. It's like an undescribable scream of how you get your arm broken. Because like I've never gotten my arm broken, but imagine.
Neither have I. I mean, me personally, like I've never broken a bone.
Oh yeah, neither have I. But it's like this like unimaginable like feeling of again. It's like someone legitimately just like broke my arm right in front of me.
Yeah, and it's not like one of those like fast breaks either, where like you fall down and it just happens. No, it's like one of those like slow like breaking of the arm. But they are obviously able to recover the shield now because they were able to incapacitate John. And that is the opening to Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 5, Truth. But so the next scene shows a bunch of police arresting I believe Flag Smasher members who were still left over from.
Well, they said followers. I don't really know what that means. I don't think these are like actual like super soldier Flag Smashers. They're just people who follow the movement.
Mm-hmm. No, the original 8 super soldiers are the ones that are with Carly.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I think how we should do it is Flag Smasher members are the super soldiers. Followers are regular people.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, no. So they arrest Flag Smasher followers that are still left over from Mama Danya's funeral, because as we remember from last episode, there were a lot of people there. Flag Smasher followers are getting arrested, and we hear Sam drop the information that the GRC, the Global Repatriation Council, I believe I got that right.
Yeah, you got that right.
Are conducting raids trying to find Carly, but it turns out that Carly is basically off the grid now because she's on the run. Now that pretty much everyone's like, Carly, she's the bad guy.
Really now? I never knew that.
Yeah. And so Bucky goes off to take care of Zemo because, as we remember, Zemo escaped through his bathroom.
You know, I kind of felt like it was weird. Like, if I remember correctly, back in episode 2, they agreed to like once they retrieved the shield, they would just part their separate ways, right? And so Bucky's just fulfilling that, right?
Basically.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't quite understand that until I thought about that.
Yeah, no, because Bucky was basically just came along because he's like, you made a mistake, and Sam's like, I know, just shush.
I know, I'm dumb.
And then Sam was like, look, once we get the shield back, you can do whatever you do as an edgy Winter Soldier. And so Bucky is now going off to take care of Zemo since he escaped, and Sam stays back with the shield and talks with someone we haven't another person we haven't seen since episode 2, Joaquin Torres.
Yes.
And Torres basically just repeats information that we already know. How how Captain America in public killed a foreign man. It's now an international thing. The GRC is taking jurisdiction, so everyone higher up is like, hey, we can control the media now.
Right. He is like the business of the scene.
Yeah. Torres takes a look at the wings to see how badly they're broken. Again, just stuff we know. Carly is laying low. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think they might be setting up that Torres might be the next Falcon.
That's what I thought too.
If we're gonna have Sam, because the show seems to be setting up that Sam will be taking the mantle of Captain America, and so if that's the case, who would be better to fill in the Falcon role other than Torres, who just, as we know from this show, has been a friend of Sam's.
Right, and since you're the comic book expert, and I kind of did a little research into this too, ergo, I looked at the Wikipedia page. Joaquin Torres is a Falcon iteration within the comics, correct?
Yes, I'm like 90% sure.
No wonder they just subtly left Sam's broken wings right there for Torres. Yeah, we can just end the scene right there.
Yep, because the next scene, bada bing, bada boom, is John Walker's trial, basically.
And
it's essentially his trial. It's not really a trial.
Yeah,
but
it's not like, like our actual like court system trial. It's basically just a hearing. Well, the point of this scene is for the U.S. government officials to strip John Walker of his Captain America title. And throughout
the hearing, so the council members, because of John's outstanding work as a U.S. Army soldier, because he has 3 Medal of Honors, and is basically a national hero.
Yeah.
They don't want to do a court-martial. They just are like, John, just accept your punishment of getting stripped of your titles, things like that, and we can go our separate ways. And John throughout this scene is basically like, no, let me state my case as to the circumstances of the incident. And they're like, the circumstances have already been considered, man.
Yeah.
Just don't. And we also see kind of the first like John Walker freak out. With him being like,
you say that after he murdered someone.
Well, I mean, like, the council gets to see his flip out like firsthand.
Yeah, because I feel like John Walker is trying to play the defensive, since this dude is an egotistical maniac. It was like, no shit there. He's an egotistical maniac. He's trying to put the blame not on himself, which he objectively should do because it is his fault. He wants to put the blame on this, like, I don't know if this is called whataboutism, but basically he's trying to blame the council for giving him the Captain America title in the first place.
Well, it's not just that, because yes, he does talk about being Captain America, but the main thing he talks about is just being a soldier. They train you to kill. Like their main purpose is to train you how to fight and win war. That is the military's entire purpose. For example, I don't know how many of our viewers know this, but a few months ago, I left to do basic training to be a Marine. I wasn't able to fully complete my training due to health conditions that got in the way. But when I got back, I was able to come back with some insight on how the inner workings of the military works. Obviously, I don't know everything, but I at least have a general knowledge, a little bit more than just an average civilian would have. And when I was in the Marine Corps, when I was at Marine Corps boot camp, their entire thing is just they're not. Obviously, they're not going to like change your personality or anything, but their entire job is to get you trained so that you can kill someone, if it requires. That is their entire job. Their entire job is to get you prepared to fight, kill, and win. And John talks about that a little bit in this scene where he during his freak out towards the council members, he's saying, "You guys trained me to do it, and I did it well. And because I did this, you guys are now punishing me, even though you guys are the ones who gave me the knowledge of how to do it." And I think he's not just talking about being Captain America there. I think that's his soldier side coming out. Because if this was a normal like soldier situation, nothing would have happened, because in order for him to get his medals of honor, he had to kill enemy soldiers. But now, because it seemed like it was just some random civilian, because not everyone knows that the guy he killed was a Flag Smasher member, now because it just seems like he killed a random civilian, even though he knows that's not the case, they're now punishing him. So that's that whole thing.
Gotcha.
I don't know where that rant came from, but
no, it's a good thing you said it, because like it's interesting to get various perspectives on the same issue.
Yeah.
So like and asking this because of your brief background in military experience, Lamau. Is John Walker, is what he's saying to these council members accurate enough that it justifies his actions, or are his actions still going above and beyond the call of action?
That is a very heavy question and a very tough one to answer, because there's two sides of it. There's a civilian side and there's a soldier side. If you're looking at the civilian side, no. He shouldn't have been he was in the wrong. He did something he shouldn't have done. What he should have done is, because the man seemed to be unarmed, and while yes, the man was a super soldier, he wasn't in that moment truly a threat. Obviously, they had the upper hand. What John probably should have done is apprehend him and bring him in so that a court could basically like do his sentence. But because of Lamar's unfortunate end, he went into a crazy haze and just killed the first person he saw. From a soldier side of it, because they were in the middle of a battle, he would technically be in the right. Because the person who he killed was of a enemy supremacist group that was that at this point in time is now considered a terrorist organization, because Carly blew up part of a GRC camp. And so what he did would technically be justified if it was a soldier situation. However, because he was wearing the Captain America outfit, that's not the case. And so that would be my answer, if you understood that.
No, yeah, I did understand that. That's a different question for the audience, though, basically.
That is true.
But yeah, but the fact of the matter is, John Walker is stripped of the Captain America title, and, they just send him on his merry way then. And he's sitting outside of the courtroom with his girlfriend and just...
Wife.
Why? Oh, he's married?
Yes, they're husband and wife.
Oh, what a douche. Okay.
Wow.
But yeah, they're just sitting outside and they're just sad.
Yeah. Until an unfamiliar face decides to pop on in. Well, actually, before that, the wife is like, "Hey, visit Lamar's parents," and he's just like, "Fine." And then some footsteps approach, and we see a face that we haven't actually seen in the show yet.
No, but this is a very famous face. And at first when they did the camera pan of like the high heels walking on the ground, I thought it was going to be Sharon Carter. I don't know why, for whatever reason, because it's like the only other female that they've presented in this show. But no, this is a very unexpected cameo. No fan was like thinking of this. No one in the TV world was thinking of this either, because this is a very familiar face if you've been around for a while. She was just never in the cast role before until like 5 seconds ago,
something like that.
Yeah. So okay, so the actress we're talking about is Julia Louis-Dreyfus, most notably famous for her role as Elaine from Seinfeld. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is she doing here, Brian, and who is she playing?
So her character's name is Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, a.k.a. Val. And in this episode, they kind of set her up to be, from what I can tell, a bad guy of sorts. Because she's not necessarily good. But I'm gonna lay down some comic book knowledge. However much gets into the final cut, it has whatever you guys get to deal with, you guys get to deal with it. So, who is Valentina Allegra de Fontaine? Well, let me tell you, Val Fontaine, in the comics, depending on what incarnation you look at, in most, what we would deem the canon universe. She has been she has been a lover to Nick Fury. She has been a SHIELD agent. She has been all these sorts of things. However, the incarnation that I think this show is going to go for, because again, from what I can tell, it looks like they're setting her up to be on the villain spectrum. It looks like they're going with her alter ego of Madame Hydra.
Whoa, what?
Yes, Madame Hydra is a alias that she has gone by before. Basically, just like Hydra's head woman for a while. And so I think that she is one of the last remaining heads of Hydra that is still around.
Huh.
Whether or not she's actually going to be on Bucky's amends list, or if Bucky even knows about her existence, we'll find out. But again, just speculating off what we got in this episode, because she's only in this one scene. It might be that there's going to set up the incarnation of Madame Hydra and have her be like the next big Hydra villain.
Whoa. Interesting.
And she basically is like, hey, John, don't worry. You did the right thing killing a man in public. Don't worry. I believe in you. You ever need me? Give me a call. You'll know where to find me. And things like, again, that's why I think she's on the villain spectrum, is because she's like, I think you did the right thing, even though all of us and what the show is trying to get across is that he did not do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll just see whether or not her character comes back in the final episode, or if she might somehow come back in a later thing. Who knows?
Bet, what if the post-credit scene the next episode is just her and whoever the power broker is just sitting on a balcony watching New York on fire?
So, the next scene of this episode, it's a Carly scene.
Yeah, there barely anything happens in this scene. I don't really know. Like, this is one of the scenes that I was explaining to you, Brian. It's like, I don't feel like anything of importance really happens in this scene. It's just them being angry that the whole refugee camp is gone, basically.
Yeah, that the refugee camp is gone, that they've lost a lot of people. And the only things, the only line of importance that I can get from this scene is when Carly says, "How many lives must be lost in order for us to just be citizens of this goddamn planet?" That's like the only line of importance from this scene. And the reason why I think it's important is because it just brings more, reasoning as to why Carly is so dead set on doing what she's doing. Because again, like, the whole reason she started this, the whole reason she did this is because after the blip, people who were misplaced because they were snapped away are no longer able to do all the things they were once able to do because of them being gone for 5 years. But yeah, no, that other than that, pretty much nothing happens in this episode. Or not in this episode, but in this scene.
I mean, you're not wrong on both.
But yeah, so that's basically the end of that.
All right, and then we transition to the Sokovian Memorial, which is the first time we're ever being shown this in the MCU. After, Sokovia fell back in Age of Ultron about 6 years ago.
Yeah, we get to see the Sokovia Memorial, which which we learned about last episode. No, not the last episode. The episode before that, when Zemo was like, "Did either of you bother going to the Sokovian the memorial for Sokovia?" That's what I thought, because they stay silent. But yeah, again, the whole reason why I'm sad Sokovia is gone is because we won't be able to see Zemo Castle. Kind of sad about that, not gonna lie. Really wanted to see his castle.
Well, too fucking bad.
You get what you get. But yeah, and here we have a pretty interesting. I don't know how to describe this scene.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting and captivating for like a lot of reasons. Because Bucky shows up, and I didn't know if they established this beforehand, but apparently Zemo is actually one of the names on his amends list in his little notebook.
Yeah. And
so Bucky's here to do that, but he does it in a very strange way. So, he has a gun, and he points it at Zemo's head. And what were you thinking in this moment scene? Because I don't know. I didn't know what to expect. Because, like, it was either going to do the cop-out of, like, not having any bullets in the gun, which it did, or, we were actually going to see Bucky murder Zemo on TV.
Yeah, no, okay. So what I thought was, when I first saw it, when I first saw the gun come up to his head, I thought, okay, he's either not going to pull the trigger, just in general, or nothing's going to be in the gun. But because of how long they held on it just long enough for me to actually like counteract my thinking my thought that I had, and be like, we're gonna see Zemo die, aren't we?
Yeah, they probably did that intentionally.
Definitely. But yeah, so he points it at his head, he pulls the trigger, nothing happens, the gun just clicks, and then you see Bucky drop a handful of bullets to the ground. And as he does so, 3 Wakandan soldiers, one of them being Io, the Dora Milaje, they come and they take Zemo away. Now, there is one thing I want to talk about when it comes to what Zemo told Bucky. It comes from this. In this little interaction, Zemo kind of has a little bit of a monologue here, with some interjections from Bucky. But the main thing that he says is Carly has been radicalized beyond salvation, which is something that he warned about last episode to Sam, but Sam wouldn't listen because Sam thinks there's still good in everybody, except John, apparently. But he is saying, so Sam's entire thing is that he thinks Carly still has some good in her. Zemo's whole thing is that Carly doesn't have any good in her because of what she's done. And in this, he just reemphasizes that fact by saying now, because of what Carly has done now, there's nothing left in her that can be brought back. There's no good in her. We get fucking whatever this is. And then he's just like, you were programmed to kill. So do what you do best. Therefore, basically hinting that Winter Soldier should kill Carly. Whether or not Carly's actually going to die, who knows?
Was he implying? Because I thought that meant he should, kill him.
I think, honestly, it could probably even be both.
Interesting.
Because again, Zemo's whole mindset is he doesn't like symbols. And Carly is a symbol, and so he thinks that Carly should be eradicated.
That's true.
But he himself, in his actions, has also kind of turned he's also kind of turned himself into a symbol as well. If you really think about it, Zemo has kind of turned himself into a symbol.
Yeah, that is true. Maybe not with a cult following, but I think he does recognize that he has become a symbol in some sort of way, not in the same egotistical nature that probably John Walker does, but I think Zemo does recognize something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, so Zemo is taken away. And then we go on to the next scene.
But hold on. Before that happens, Bucky, he asks of a favor for Io, but they never actually stated what that favor that Bucky would like from Io would be.
Yes. However, that does come back later on in the episode.
Yes, it does. All right. So the next scene.
The next scene, we go back to somewhere we haven't been to since episode 2.
Oh no.
We go back to Maryland.
Oh no.
Here in Maryland, we see Sam walking down a familiar-ish street. If you remember episode 2, I hardly remember episode 2.
Oh no. Oh, I remember that episode.
But yeah, so we see Sam walking down the street. He has a conveniently shield-shaped bag with him. And he walks past these two boys playing basketball. And one of them stops and is like, hey, what do you think you're doing? And he's just like, I came to see your grandpa. And he's like, he's in the back. So Sam goes to the back, where we then see Isaiah Bradley watering his plants. And they have an interaction. Sam basically wants to... The entire purpose as to why Sam's here in the first place is that Sam... Because Sam himself isn't a super soldier, and he doesn't want to be a super soldier in any way, he believes that the rightful owner of the shield should be Isaiah. Because Isaiah went through the super soldier program, sure wasn't in the best ways, but he went through a super soldier program of some sort. And so Sam thinks that he should have the shield. However, Isaiah doesn't want it. Because he just hates everything that shield stands for and the country that it represents.
Ah, yes.
Yes. Politics in episodes, you gotta love it, you know? It's so nice.
It's so great, gang.
And I find it funny that the whole reason why Isaiah decides to sit down with Sam in the first place is because Sam's just so obviously Isaiah's resentful towards like him being put in jail for 30 years because of what happened. Like literally all Sam says is Steve did not put you in jail, and then he's all like, you got a point, fine, follow me. Like that's basically what happens. leave it to me to just riff on your favorite parts. But yeah, and so here we get a little bit more of Isaiah's backstory. That's really all this scene is just Isaiah's backstory in politics.
Well, yeah, like in terms of the context of the universe, it's to explain Isaiah's backstory, but for the writer's purpose on conveying something to the audience, it's for very political purposes. And we're probably going to do something like we did back in episode 2. We'll put a timestamp to something after we have a political discussion, because for all intents and purposes, the only reason why Isaiah Bradley is in this show is so the writers for this show can just push woke politics, push political correctness politics into our entertainment. That's literally the only reason why he is here.
When it comes to my comic book side really liked it. Because, it's I'm just like, the backstory's there.
Mm-hmm.
Because, almost pretty much everything that he actually mentioned about, the whole, war scenario when he was a super soldier in his prime, all of that is, pretty accurate to his true backstory from the comics. And then my political side was they just had to bring it back.
Yep.
As soon as I saw the fucking location come up of Maryland, I was just like, here we go again.
Aw, shit. Here we go again. Yeah.
I knew that they were going to I knew that eventually they were probably going to come back to Isaiah. I just didn't know how they were going to do it. And after seeing how they did it, part of me, again, is there's the backstory, and then the political side is just God damn it, Falcon.
There's literally no reason for him to be in the show. I'm sorry. No, all he's there to do, and I know I pointed this out in this episode 2, and you're like, it's fine, it's not going to mean anything in the end, and my superstition is I've changed my mind as I put my feet up on the table with my coffee mug. Changed my mind. I knew he was going to be a problem. He's going to be the mouthpiece for the propagandists that are writing the script. It was probably Ta-Nehisi Coates that's writing the lie about modern day American systemic racism. That's all. That's he's the central mouthpiece for, and they're exploiting Anthony Mackie right now just so they can push that narrative, because I think what they're trying to get that script is Sam is has been, I guess, whitewashed by the white man, and so he doesn't know what racism feels like, and so Isaiah is trying to brainwash him and the audience, and Anthony Mackie probably, as is saying, your skin is black and you have been oppressed all 400 years of your life. Got it? Got it.
I think the implication that they give for Sam finally, gaining the courage to emphasize the shield, finally become the Captain America title, is is because I think what they are trying to imply with the whole Isaiah Bradley implementation, because Isaiah Bradley says when Sam offered the shield to him, Isaiah Bradley said no, because the world is not ready for a black Captain America, because he believes in the in the lie of systemic racism, because he was held for 30 years because I guess he was black and he didn't commit anything wrong or something like that, except for he was black, which is just a lie. That's not true. But I think what they're trying to go for was maybe the world is ready for a black Captain America. Yeah, that's totally the right response to this, right? Right? No. So basically, my basic portion is I think the Isaiah Bradley scene did not need to be a thing, because I think the entire purpose of his character is to promote actual propaganda. I'm not saying that Isaiah Bradley's character is somebody who's definitely had a bad life experience, and so and he's definitely felt some tragedy in his life, and I do feel sorry for the guy. That is something to him, but he has this perverted sense of looking at the world, specifically through race. That's why I said this portion of the script, like all the portions of the script that are written to like make distinctions between black people and white people because we have different colored skin for whatever reason, is like that had to be written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, because he is a racial essentialist. He believes that white people and black people can't get along together, and he believes that the baseline philosophy of the Declaration of Independence was a lie when written. He thinks this nation was built on is a nation of lies, and that we should never take anything seriously, and there's no such thing as truth. He's a racial essentialist, and he is a damned liar and pervert. He was even a guy that is like, he claims that he was on, I don't know if it's true, but he claims he was on a New York balcony on September 11, 2001, watching the Twin Towers be imploded with the terrorist planes, and he said he felt nothing because of America's systemic racism.
Yeah.
So that guy is an absolute rube, and I feel like he had to have written these parts of the scripts, because he's also a comic book writer. You see, and Marvel and DC have been hiring him to write. Have you heard the news about like the Black Superman movie coming out?
Yeah.
He's the one writing it.
The guy who the guy who plays Isaiah Bradley?
No, Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Ah.
Yeah, the racial essentialist.
Gotcha.
So yeah, he's been writing comics for a while, and he's now gotten his hands on the movies, and that's why I feel like he has to be the one writing these parts of the script, because it is just not true. This is actual propaganda pushing. But that's besides the point. I think the broader overall point is that scene did not need to be a thing, and I think the way Sam could have gotten to his realization of like there needs to be a proper Captain America in this world is that because at the very beginning he was like they're the only person that should ever have the honor to wield the shield is Steve Rogers, because he is the most patriotic like person you could ever ask for to wield the Captain America shield, and there just can't be ever be a replacement. And so when he realized they gave it to, average Joe, random Joe, we later figure out he's a morally flawed character, but when they gave it to an average Joe, and a piece of crap at that, and then when he finally retrieved the shield from John Walker, he was like, okay, I made a mistake, and so I need to buck myself up and, tell myself and teach myself that I need to become the next mantle of Captain America, so we can actually pursue these truths, pursue the good American truths. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is
yeah,
there could have been a different way of how to portray Sam's motivation to finally become Captain America without having to play the racial essentialist card with Isaiah Bradley scene. That I'm sorry, Bryan. I'm sorry. Like, the only reason that he was brought in here was to push the lie of systemic racism, which is not true.
Isaiah's I'm just going to go into the backstory stuff, if you don't mind.
Yeah, just briefly.
Yeah, so the backstory that they give him for the MCU is that he was put in jail for 30 years. During those 30 years, first of all, he had a wife. And every letter that she sent him, he did not receive, because they didn't let him receive them. So he didn't know that she was still trying to contact him. Then after a few years, I want to say, because again, she obviously knew that he was alive for a little bit, because she was able to send him letters at least. After a few years, they basically were just like, hey, he's dead, even though he wasn't. While he was in jail, she passed away. And then after those 30 years, he would have been in longer, but a nurse helped him fake some reports and ended up faking his own death, so that he was released. He was then released back home, where he's been ever since. But because of everything, his history's been not released, but erased. So no one knows anything about how Isaiah Bradley was a super soldier back in the past. And the whole reason why he was arrested is because he decided to save his fellow soldiers from a POW prison. Which, if you don't know what POW stands for, it stands for prisoner of war. So yeah. That's his MCU backstory. And so the whole reason why he was put in jail is because he decided to save his fellow soldiers. And I think the whole reason why they decided to change that, because originally in the comics he was arrested because he stole Captain America's shield and outfit. Because that's grounds for arresting someone for 30 years. But at least from what I can tell, the reason why they changed that part of his backstory to him saving lives is because they kind of want to bring back the opposite thing between why John Walker is the opposite of like every Captain America before him, because John Walker killed someone but is able to go free without any prison time. Meanwhile, Isaiah Bradley saved people but was given prison time in return. That's really all I can think of as to why they would change that part of his backstory. But yeah. 5-minute backstories with Bryan. Woo! I don't even think that was 5 minutes. I think that was more. But yeah. That is really all I can think of as to why they changed his backstory. And that's really the only difference between his comic book backstory that I can think of. He's also like the last one alive out of his group. So yeah. At the very end of this scene just has Sam call up his sister and be like, hey, I'm coming home. So yeah. The next scene has Sam tying up some nets with Sarah's boys, his nephews. So yeah, they're tying up, fixing up some nets, and as Sam's like, because Sam, as you remember, Sarah wanted to sell the boat, and Sam has finally come to accept that like they're gonna sell the boat, and then the nephews spill the beans because nephews don't know how to keep their mouths shut. They're just like, we're gonna spill the beans. She can't sell the boat because it's too messed up. So what does Sam do? Sam then confronts Sarah and is like, hey, we're going to fix up that boat. And she's like, I know I can't stop you. I'd rather you didn't, but I'm not going to stop you. And so that's basically just this. And then the rest of this episode, other than a few like interjections, the rest of this episode is basically just a ship montage. It's basically just the C version of Pimp My Ride. That's really it.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this is just like the calm before the storm, basically.
Right.
C reference for you guys. So yeah, we again, the rest of this episode is basically just Pimp My Ride Boat Edition.
Basically,
it's like, just like a couple of scenes that interject with some of the other characters in the show. But yeah, primarily right now, like as you stated, the calm before the storm is just Sam, Bucky. He also appears a little bit later in this montage. Sam, Bucky, Sarah, and just the rest of the Wilson family just getting their fish market all dolled up and along with the boat.
Yeah, because pretty much like everyone in this little community owes something to the Wilson family because of their parents. So he basically just calls in all those favors for them to get the boat fixed.
Yeah. You know, this stuff is kind of weird because this thought crossed my mind as well. This all seems like... I don't know how to describe it. This is happening in episode 5, right? And there are only 6 episodes within this series. A direction or a scene like this kind of feels like an episode 2 moment. As in, like, the rising climax kind of stuff before we got to the midpoint climax.
Mm-hmm.
So it's because it's all good moves, happy vibes, and all that. And then out of nowhere, Bucky appears. Now, how they filmed it, it kind of seemed like it was like Bucky's first time interacting with Sam in years. Just like not just like his performance, but like the camera shot is what I'm saying. So I don't know if I'm describing it very clearly, but Yeah.
I mean, I kind of get where you're coming from. Like especially in some instances, like when the pipe starts bursting out steam, how like they work together to fix it, and then like Sam afterwards is like, you have a metal arm, like why don't you use your metal arm? And Bucky's like, sometimes I forget I even have it,
right,
because he's right-handed and not left-handed, and like that kind of joke, like now that you've mentioned that, kind of does sound like something they would say after first interacting in years.
Mm-hmm. It's like, obviously, it was like some of the interjecting lines that they say in this stuff. They talk about Carly in some instances, and obviously, Bucky has the Wakandan briefcase on him as well. So, with that kind of content, it wouldn't make sense within the context. But just take this content and put it into a different context, and maybe it would make sense.
Yeah. However, we do get to see Bucky and Sarah interact for the first time, it seems like they're trying to set up some form of love interest here.
Perhaps, I don't know, something like that. They kind of do it for like cheek and tongue kind of comedy, right? If they're like legitimately trying to set something up, like between a romantic relationship, there would be a lot more depth and development to it. It wouldn't be like kind of like high school flirting stuff as presented as of right here, because this is just tongue-in-cheek funny stuff.
Yeah. So who knows what'll happen?
Because Sam says, "Don't flirt with my sister."
Yeah, and he's just like, sure. But yeah, no. So Bucky, he stays to help fix the boat. And again, most of this episode, or like the like pretty much the rest of this episode, is just them fixing the boat. Obviously, like there's questions of like what's in the, like we as the audience are like, what's in the briefcase? And Falcon and Winter Soldier decides to pull a Pulp Fiction on us and is like, we're not going to show you the insides of the briefcase. We're going to make you think.
Right.
And we're all just like, God damn it, you know?
Yeah, if I had to guess anything, it would be Wakandan wings. Kind of like how Bucky's arm is made out of Wakandan technology.
That's actually what I was thinking. Like, my first thought was it's going to be like Wakandan Falcon wings. However, if they're trying to set up Torres to be the Falcon, I think what it might be, then it changes the perspective of what might be in the briefcase, where instead of it being Falcon wings, there is a chance that it could potentially be a Sam Wilson version of the Captain America suit, but with like Wakandan technology.
Yeah, well, it might be both, because like, you know, think of the advantages of having a flying Captain America.
True.
Yeah.
Again, we don't know, and we probably won't know until at the very latest, right before the climax of the last episode.
Yep. So
yeah.
What else is really there to talk about this whole boat and fish market kind of stuff? Because that's pretty much
really
it.
Nothing.
And it takes up like a good chunk of the episode as well.
Yeah, no, it really does. The only few interjections we get is a John Walker scene, and I think there's a Carly scene later on. Oh, and a Sharon Carter scene.
Well, the Carly scene happens like near the end of all of this, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so it's like the John Walker scene, then the Sharon Carter scene,
and then there's also the Sam training montage.
Oh, that's right. Which I'm excited to talk about that as well. Well, just like one little like motif about it, at least.
Okay. So yeah.
But yeah, John Walker. So John Walker, as his wife suggested, went to go talk to Lamar's parents. And what I can tell, Lamar's sister, it looks like, She was the third member there. The one with like the like curly big hair. I'm only assuming it's his sister because she doesn't look that much younger than him. Unless she's like a love interest, maybe, that he had. I don't remember if they ever mentioned a wife that he had or anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
So as of right now, unless the comments or someone proves me wrong, I am just going to assume sister. That's what I'm going to do. But yeah, no, so the parents are there crying their eyes out as they hand Walker a picture of him and Lamar after their first tour. And the first line we get when we enter the scene is from the dad, and he says, "Are you sure he was the one that killed our boy?" And Walker replies, "Yes." Meaning that, so what I'm trying to figure out from Walker that I haven't quite figured out yet is whether or not he truly knows or believes that the man he killed was the one who killed Lamar. Because there's one of two ways that you can go about this. Either he's so caught up in his like crazy haze about Lamar's death that he truly believes the man he killed was the one who killed Lamar, or he's come to know that that's not the case. He just doesn't want to say that it was someone else because he doesn't want to seem like he killed an innocent.
Yeah, they do kind of leave that very vague.
They do. And either one works in a way, because if you go the way of like him being stuck in his trauma about Lamar's death, and so he truly believes that the man he killed was the one who killed Lamar, that works because, you know, trauma can really fuck you up. It can really make you believe things that aren't true. But if you go with the way of thinking of he knows that that wasn't the guy who killed Lamar, then that can kind of feed into the whole thing about how Walker doesn't want to be the one to blame. Walker doesn't want to be the blame of the situation. He wants to feel justified in what he did.
Yeah.
And so those are two very interesting ways of looking at it. John Walker, after he leaves Lamar's parents, he sees a picture. He sees one of those posters saying Cap is back, and he's all like, "I'm gonna look at this angrily," and then he walks away. Then we get the Sharon Carter scene. The Sharon Carter scene shows us more evidence. No, I don't know if evidence is the right word, but it shows us more possibility that Sharon Carter could potentially be the power broker. Potentially, I'm saying potentially because again, nothing's really setting it up. I don't even think it's fully true, but theorists are going to theorize because that's what they do. So we see Sharon on the phone as she's talking to someone, and the person that she's talking to is Baytrock. Baytrock, I'll get back to him later in the episode because he comes back later. But she's basically like, "Hey, you owe me a favor," and he's like, "Fine." That's really all I got from this. I don't know if you got anything more.
Oh, I just saw it was some French dude.
Oh, no, it's Baytrock. The same guy from episode 1 that Sam stopped in the Air Force mission.
Yeah, the guy that Sam was chasing as he and his henchmen were just flying in freaking flying squirrel suits, just like actual blimps, but like super fast blimps in the air, looking like dopes.
Yeah. Basically. So yeah, that's that. There is a small little Bucky Sam interaction of them just throwing the shield back and forth to each other while bouncing it off like pads that are on trees. Sam talks about how like the legacy of that shield is complicated. It's basically just the bit we got from the trailer.
Oh yeah, and also that was a scene where Bucky's like, "I'm sorry that I'm a white person."
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
He's like, he was like, when Steve handed you that shield, I didn't understand what it was like for a black man to be handed that shield.
Oh, fuck off, writer.
But yeah, no, that's basically the big gist of that. Oh, and Bucky finally tells Sam that he's been making amends. And Sam's like, you weren't amending, you were avenging.
Yeah, which is this is like a very good piece of advice from Sam. Because, given his background, he was the one that helped, soldiers, kind of reshape them back into civilization. So what Sam basically tells Bucky is like, there's a difference between, when it comes to amending, there's a difference between saying I'm sorry. There's a difference between making you feel better for saying I'm sorry and them actually feeling gratitude from you saying I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because I think what Sam points out to Bucky is that the only reason why he's like saying sorry to all the people on his amends list is just to make Bucky feel better. And so Bucky will when he gets all the names crossed off of his list, he believes that will make him better. But that, I think what Sam's trying to tell him, this is kind of a narcissistic way of thinking it. Not in like a bad way, but in a way that will detrimentally harm him in the end. Because he'll feel all good inside that he crossed all the names on the list, but it won't change anything. It's basically what Sam is trying to realize to Bucky. And so you gotta... Yeah. And so he's telling Bucky that when he says I'm sorry to these people, it needs to be an actual change, an actual difference to these people to actually make them feel the gratitude and the passion from you saying that he is sorry. That will not only make Bucky feel happy, but will make everybody around him feel happy as well.
Basically. Back to where we were. Sam and Sarah have this small interaction after they're done with the boat. They're done fixing it up and stuff. They have a small interaction basically saying now that Sarah doesn't want to sell the boat. And Sam's like, I'm glad to hear it. Because he didn't want to sell the boat either. So yeah, that's that interaction. Again, nothing really much happened.
Right. Well, like, with that last scene, I don't know exactly what they said, but Sam got, like, this encouragement to, like, quote, keep on fighting. I'm not sure what that means in his mind, but after that goes directly into the montage of him, trying to become the next Captain America. Yeah.
And so we see him doing push-ups, running, practicing throwing the shield, because he's just trying to get as good as he can be.
Right.
And one little motif that I want to talk about in this training montage is the fact that when John, God, I'm getting characters confused. Stop it. So when Sam is running down the path during the like sections of him running,
yeah,
he's running on the right side of the path, leaving space open on his left.
Oh.
If you don't get that, then you're not a Marvel fan. I'm kidding.
Oh yeah, says the person who didn't understand Hydra Soak.
But yeah, and so throughout this montage, we see him getting better at recovering the shield after throwing it, and just stuff like that. Until we are able to see what we got from the trailer of him being able to do his flip thing into grabbing the shield. Yeah, that's that's the training montage for you.
Yeah, a part of me wanted to like, what if they just happened to play like the Rocky theme right here? That would go great. Right. That would go great with the montage, the training montage.
Yeah. But yeah, and then the montage basically ends that section of the episode. We then go on to our finale bits, which is basically just one long-ish Carly scene with a little bit of Sam at the end. And so in this scene, we see Carly and her Flag Smasher members in a park in New York, just sitting around in public because no one knows who the Flag Smashers are apparently in New York. Marvel corporate's going to be knocking on my door any minute now. No, seriously, they know who these people are. The GRC is currently looking for them, yet they're able to just be out in broad daylight in New York and not a single person. I mean, I get that like a lot of the people at the park itself are Flag Smasher followers, as we learn later in the scene, but there's still many people just around, and none of them think to go, that's a group of people in leather jackets that look kind of shady. Does that one with freckles look familiar? Hey, honey, that I didn't know was here. Do you think that's Carly? You do? Well, then I guess we should not do anything about this.
Bryan Sabula, this is Marvel Corpo, Kevin Feige. We are here to deplatform you.
They just take away my Disney Plus subscription.
Yeah, we are here to revoke your Disney Plus subscription for pointing out the plot hole fallacies of our TV shows. You are not allowed to do that.
But anyways, on to what the scene's about. So Carly, again, not telling her fellow Flag Smasher members, because apparently she's really bad at communication, enlists the help of Batroc. Again, none of her fellow members are aware that she enlisted the help of Batroc. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
I thought it was Batroc, but
Batroc?
That's just something.
Be.
It was either Batroc or Batroc. I think yours is actually a creator, because mine sounds like Batman just made a pet rock and called it Batroc.
It's French. Who the hell knows?
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, and he gives them a bunch of weapons or gadgets that they can use. And even one of Carly's members doubts her and is like, we're working with criminals now? And she's all like, if they think we're criminals, then why shouldn't we work with criminals? And so this is a way for Batroc to get his revenge on Sam, and they can get what they want by infiltrating the government. So yeah. Now, something that we forgot to mention back in episode 1 is that Batroc, his first appearance was actually back in Winter Soldier.
Yes.
And he was the leader of the group of French people that were on the boat where we got the stealth suit for Captain America.
This is the very beginning of the movie, if you guys have forgotten, because the beginnings of movies are very forgettable.
But yeah, that's where he was from before Falcon and Winter Soldier. And then Carly activates her Flag Smasher app, and everyone's like, ooh, notification. I wonder who it's from. And they see it's from her, and they're like, okay, it's time to go to work. And Batroc's not part of it. He's just here to get revenge on Sam. And this little Sam scene before the, like, almost like finale climax of the episode, basically this little Sam scene is where we just get more world building about what the GRC is doing, about how the GRC is planning on moving all of 23,000 refugees back to their countries of origin.
The GRC is voting on something called the Patch Act. It's something that they've referenced earlier. I don't think they ever elaborate on what the Patch Act logistically does.
In this, they kind of touch on it. Basically, they're like, all the refugees are just getting sent back to their countries of origin. That's what the Patch Act is.
Gotcha. So, yeah, there's definitely some controversial stuff. And you can tell that within the bureaucracy, you know, this administrative state, they run our lives, gang. Did I say that out loud? You can see that they are very, frustrated with just how, the debate is going and everything. And so they even come to, a conclusion. They didn't actually end the thing because terrorists and all that. They came to some sort of conclusion why do we even need to vote? We are a bureaucracy. we can just ram this through just how we please, right? Right.
Yeah, that's the main senator, and it's the same senator that we saw earlier in the episode who gave John Walker his conviction.
Yeah.
And he's basically just a bureaucrat in a suit. He's like, look, do we really need to vote? All I have to do is just sign a piece of paper and it can be done. And some of the other council members that are here representing their countries, some of them are saying, like, we're not ready for this. We don't have we are not able to hold that capacity of people. We can't do this right now. We could probably do it later, but we can't do it now. And he's just like adamant, being like, look, there are troops in place. We can just do it, and no one will know if we voted or not. And so, yeah, that's basically what they talk about until Carly's Flag Smasher followers, people take over. And I think that we'll probably see the ending of that scene in the next episode, probably as the beginning.
Right.
Then we cut back to Sam opening the suitcase thing that Bucky gave him from Wakanda. And again, we don't get to see what's in it till the next episode.
They just leave it off as a cliffhanger. And so, yeah, and we're done with the episode.
That's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
However,
wait, there's a however?
There is a however. However, this episode wanted to throw a curveball and finally gave us an end credit scene. It may have only been one, but it's an end credit scene.
Huh? I have to go back and watch it now.
I know. But this end credit scene starts off at a black screen, and then we hear hammering. Kind of reminds me of Tony Stark when he was hammering in the cave. And we get some hammering, and then we see John Walker basically metalworking his own shield. And on it, instead of obviously it still has like the star and stuff in the middle, but he infuses one of his own Medal of Honors into the shield itself. And so, yeah, we just get a shield making montage from John Walker, and that's the end credit scene.
Cool. I don't know what that material that shield is made out of, but I'm ready to see him throw it at a wall or a person and just see it shatter on his first throw.
Right? Just from his sheer super soldier strength.
Right. There's no way he could have gotten his hands on vibranium. He's literally just taking like pieces out of it.
It doesn't look to be vibranium, only because of how easily malleable it is.
Yeah. Well, whatever metal he's using is probably pretty sturdy, just not as compared with, vibranium.
Yeah, no, I'm waiting for like Sam to take the vibranium shield, smash it into John Walker's shield, and just see it split in half.
Oh yeah, no. It's symbolism for his ego being shattered once again.
Honestly.
But yeah,
that was episode 5.
Episode 5 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
We have one more week and one more episode
left. Yeah, exactly. Wow, we never thought we'd make it this far in such short time, because WandaVision took about 100 weeks to finish.
Felt like it.
Damn. God damn. But yeah, we are finally here at the final episode. Just next week. We're only 1 week away from the big epic climax. Yeah, all right. Next episode predictions, final episode predictions rather, of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I want to hear yours first, Bryan.
Honestly, I think that it's going to start with I think how it's going to start is we're probably going to see the Flag Smashers in the office building that we saw them intrude, at the end of this episode. I think it's going to start with that. And I don't think we're going to see Sam put on the suit that he got or anything. I think he's just going to show up in the suit to fight Carly, most likely with Bucky by his side. Mm-hmm. I think that's how it's going to start. And I think it could possibly even turn into a possible reference to Avengers when also in New York, I believe, when Loki and Steve first confronted each other, Loki made everyone kneel, and then Captain America came in and deflected a blast back at Loki. I think we might possibly get a similar scene to that in the next episode with Sam potentially blocking something from Carly or some form of similar setup. Because again, supremacist ideals. Loki had them. Carly has them. As with what Zemo was saying. So we might get something like that potentially for the beginning. When it comes to like big predictions, I don't really have anything other than that. Obviously, we know that the ending is going to have some big climactic fight scene. At least one. But yeah, no, that's basically it. I honestly can't think of anyone who could be the power broker as of right now, if they're even going to show who the power broker is.
Right. Yeah, because that's something we were discussing last week. Was like if they decide to reveal who the power broker is, do you think he/she would be the big bad guy of the series?
Yeah. I mean, who knows? It could potentially be Fontaine. It could. Who knows? Maybe they're going to throw a curveball and make it Sharon. But, yeah, I mean, you never know.
We're only a week away.
You know, it's killing me. But yeah, no, that's really all I have. I think the biggest, not the biggest, but I think the person with the highest chance of being the power broker as of right now is probably Fontaine.
Perhaps. Unless they're gonna go with that route, like you said earlier, that she's gonna become, was it Madam Hydra or something?
Madame Hydra.
Madame Hydra.
So yeah, we'll find out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what about you?
For me, what I'm thinking is like it could either go two ways. I'm talking about like how the combat tier would go. It's either going to be one giant brawl between Falcon and Winter Soldier versus the Flag Smashers and throw U.S. Agent into there somewhere. I'm not sure if Zemo will be returning in the episode. Maybe a post-credit scene. I'm not sure if he'll return into the big fray of everything.
We just know that he's in the raft right now.
Yeah. So either it's going to be one giant brawl between all of our key players right now, or it's going to be like a multi-tiered battle. Like, say our first battle will be like versus Flag Smashers, and then maybe they'll have a side quest going fighting the optional boss of U.S. Agent. And then maybe go back on track, then finally fighting or reconciling with Carly, because remember, this is Sam. Sam and Bucky have like one conflicting thing right now, I believe, of like Sam still has a little bit of sympathy for Carly, but Bucky is kind of in the same agreement as Zemo, as like she's been too radicalized for her movement to mean any good.
Mm-hmm.
So there might be some conflicting arguments between that. So they either come to fight her and defeat her, or reconcile with her, something like that. And then maybe the GRC will probably fall because they're a big government agency that doesn't do crap. Yeah. So here, I'm gonna make a list of who our key players are right now, just for reference. I did this back when WandaVision as well. Let's see. We have Sam, Bucky. Who else are
John?
Yeah, John.
Carly.
Carly. Sharon. Zemo. Io. Who else? Sam, Bucky, John, Carly, Sharon, Zemo, Io.
Possibly Fontaine.
Oh yeah, Fontaine. Maybe I'll put an asterisk right next to her. Fontaine might be in the post-credit scene where she's just watching all the drama happen while she's sipping some tea or something.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's everybody. If I'm missing anyone from that list, comment section can please help. But I've got Sam, Bucky, John, Carly, Sharon, Zemo, and Io, and Fontaine. That was our episode review and synopsis of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 5. We are only one episode away before reaching the climax of this series, and oh boy, it's going to be exciting.
Yes, it is.
Yes, I'm very intrigued. I'm glad this series hooked me in, like, about episode 3, because, like, I'm really interested in it now. Make sure to hit like and subscribe so you can keep up to date with all of our Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode podcast review and synopsis. We also have WandaVision on the channel as well. We also have some cool, neat gaming content. If you're into that, you can check out on our channel as well. I'm plugging this all the way because it's like our final thing before, well, not our final thing, but like our final thing, like before we get to the climax. So you'll have something to keep yourself entertained with. So make sure to hit like and subscribe, and also make sure you're watching WandaVision streaming exclusively on Disney Plus, because episode 5, the last episode, is next week, and it's going to be a big one. So with that said, thank you guys for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic night, and take care, everyone.